DevOps Shorts, DevOps Shorts, the show to listen to when your DevOps hurts. And even when you're going strong, it's short and sweet, so come along.
Hello, folks, and welcome to DevOps Shorts, the show where we invite wonderful human beings to have a lightning-fast conversation about devs, ops, and other mythical creatures. The show where each episode only lasts 15 minutes, and we're focused on asking only 3 questions. So it's short and sweet. Why? Well, because if there's one thing we know, it's that great delivery comes in small batches. And our guest for tonight is Derek Weeks, the Vice President at Sonatype and the co-founder of AllDayDevOps, the man who started doing global virtual conferences before they became cool. Hello, Derek. How are you today?
Anton, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with you.
Wonderful. So without further ado, we'll dive straight on our questions. We don't have a lot of time, and we have
Let's go for it.
Important questions. So the first question is this: why do you love information technology? You see, I have this assumption that whoever comes to this show loves what they are doing. I may be wrong, I may be right, but you're the only person who can tell me if I'm wrong or right. This can be your, I believe statement. This can be a Silicon Valley style, we're making this world a better place sermon. Or this can be your story about how you fell in love with computers. Whatever you make it, we love it. And
well, I'll
go.
Okay, yeah, I'll start with the Silicon Valley story since I grew up there before it was cool. So many decades ago, I grew up in Silicon Valley, right down the street from Apple when it was tiny little buildings on Bub Road in Cupertino. And, I spent a lot of time with friends whose parents were in the technology sector, and we got to go into their offices on the weekends and check out new cool technology. And when I was in school, in college, I did some summer internships at Sun Microsystems. And I remember one of the experiences I had there. Scott McNeely was the CEO at the time. And he said, I love being in the technology industry because this is one industry where you can never stop learning. And that, for whatever reason, that always stuck with me is this is a place you're always on the leading edge or the bleeding edge of new technologies coming out, changing the landscape that you have to adapt to. And you have to learn new approaches and new technologies and new strategies for adopting those new technologies. So I think that's really part of why I love IT in general, is that never stop learning kind of mentality. And certainly throughout my career, I've adopted that principle and practiced it. As you mentioned, we started AllDayDevOps almost 5 years ago now. And we have over 100,000 people in that community. We had nearly 40,000 people attend our last big conference that we did in November to do online learning and to give them those experiences as a community. So it's been a cool place to be. So I don't know how many minutes I have left before the gong, but that's
you still have time. It's okay. So this continual learning, I also think it's fun, but on the other hand, sometimes it's exhausting, isn't it? Like if I tell my kids you need to go into IT because that's where you never stop learning, I'm not sure they'll say, oh, that's so much fun, because they feel like they're having too much learning at school already. So
I think it's really it's the opportunity where as a knowledge worker you want to maintain the best knowledge that you can, and I think as with anything, you need to be more selective about what you choose to learn and what you choose not to learn. I of course know not everything about every sector of technology, but the one that I've chosen to dive into the most, depending on the time and the job that I had, I found the experience rewarding. That I found out I was helping people, I was helping companies do more, achieve more, perform better, I made some great friends along the way. So can't complain.
Okay, cool. So there is a little time left for this question. It's okay, because we'll have time for the blitz in the end, hopefully. Okay, let's go straight to the next question. So the next question is this: what was your DevOps aha moment? In DevOps Handbook, each of the authors describes their DevOps aha moment, that situation in their lives that made them realize that the way things work in IT today sucks, but there's a better way. So what was that moment for you, Derek?
Yeah, I think that there were a number of things that really played into kind of where DevOps made more and more sense to me. One was I was attending a lot of DevOps conferences where John Willis was speaking, and he was always bringing up this conversation around W. Edwards Deming and what Deming taught the auto manufacturing industry back in the late 40s and 50s in Japan, that he brought to the United States in the 80s, and this teaching about build quality in, understand who your suppliers are, pick the best and fewest suppliers out there, understand when mistakes are made, that correcting them earlier in the product development life cycle is much less expensive. And while these things seem kind of more commonplace today, they certainly weren't back then with Deming. And so, hearing John talk about it so much, I picked up a number of Deming books and the Toyota Way books that espouse some of this culture and manufacturing ideals. And that really, made me better understand the journey that we were suggesting to software development teams to partake on. That it wasn't this, oh, let's do DevOps because DevOps is the next thing new after waterfall or agile or lean or whatever practices. It was really, someone else has done this in another industry, and we're learning from those experiences in those other industries. But the kind of one, aha moment that I bring to people when we're talking about DevOps, and I'm trying to relate to people what it is and why it's important and why it works the way that it does, what the practices are trying to achieve. There's a chart that Damon Edwards created, and I don't know how many years ago, but many years ago, and I saw this chart appearing in countless presentations by Damon and many other people. And it really showed, feedback loops. And it was the distance between feedback loops, between, a process that went from step A to step B to step C to step D. But in each stage, it wasn't about this kind of automated process or tool chain that just went forward and could do those steps, small steps, much faster. But it was the feedback loop that said, if you get to the end of step A, going to step B, and it fails or gives you a warning and you need to correct, then you have to go back to the beginning of step A and fix the problem and then move to step B again. And this feedback loop scenario, that there are feedback loops along the whole way, was my this is actually what people are trying to achieve. And the feedback loops that were very long in terms of agile or waterfall development, adopting those kinds of practices. So that's probably the biggest aha that I've repeated to many others that are just starting their journey or education about what DevOps is. And also it's the title of the book that we did for AllDayDevOps, and we're about to release version 2, but it's called Feedback Loops, Voices of AllDayDevOps. And that's an homage to Damon Edwards. And I told him that, the book title basically came from your aha moment for me. So.
Wonderful. Okay. Almost on time. 10 seconds left. Okay, let's go straight.
I got to nail I don't have a timer, but I got to nail it this time.
Yeah, you have the feeling.
Maybe I need to go until I get the gong.
Okay. So the next question, and the next question is my favorite question because it deals with the future. I like to call myself a software delivery futurist because I love looking into the future, and this is your chance to look into the future and tell us what's next in your worldview. You can talk about tomorrow when we finally go out, are allowed to go out. Or you can talk about, what happens in a year from now, in 5 years from now, in 10 years, whatever. It's your story. Go wild here. And I'm hitting the timer. Go.
Okay, so this is a great question. I'm just going to say DevOps is dead in the future because people have to predict that, and there's got to be something next, of course, because there's always something next. But no, that's not really not really the point I want to make. So one of the things I've been talking to people about, and I spend a lot of time talking about DevSecOps, and from the beginning of conversations around DevSecOps, there was this journey that people were trying to take that, hey, we're in a development team, or we're in an ops team, and security is this other group way off that we don't talk to, we don't even know who they are, and we want to take these two tribes and merge them together. And that merging of tribes has been successful at a number of organizations that I've worked with, but that journey and that transformation and that merging of those tribes is not easy. Culturally, it's not easy. Organizationally, it's not easy. Who cares about the processes and the tools? So I see that as a difficult journey to continue on a massive scale. Some people will achieve it, but most people won't. Now, that's not to say that DevSecOps is not something that organizations can accomplish. What I've seen in the last number of years that we've been studying this, I've been reporting on it, and we just released our seventh version of the DevSecOps community survey. What we see is more developers, or developers have no more time to spend on security than they have in the past. We've seen this 4 years very consistently through our survey. It's almost the same. 50% of developers say they have no more time than they had before to spend on security. But they are doing more security. We're seeing more security practices built into the development lifecycle. We're seeing more tooling built in. We're seeing more collaboration with DevOps teams and security teams than we have before. And I think what's happened in this regard is security tooling used to be built for security pros. And there have been companies that have come in and built security tools for developers and DevOps teams, where developers can say, I had a pull request in GitHub. I uploaded my new code. I got an alert 2 minutes later that says there's a vulnerability. And that's the new approach for DevSecOps. It's developer-centric. It's developer tools. Developers are getting information about security that they need as they're coding, but security is not there as a team side by side giving them that information. It's, I have a development tool like GitHub, and GitHub is supplying me information, whether itself or from a third-party plugin, or any of my other dev tools like my IDE, my continuous integration platform, is surfacing security information for me without security being involved, and the information's not coming from a security tool. So in that case, dev is making itself better at security without needing to merge these two tribes together. And I think we're going to continue to see that practice, where I'm saying these two tribes are not going to need to come together. Development is going to figure it out with better tooling on their own, more as a mass behavior in the community or the market at large than this combining the two tribes. There's more collaboration there, but I think it's much harder to achieve than just dev making itself stronger with better tools.
And we've hit a gong.
Whoa.
Wonderful.
I was like within a second there.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
So this was our first gong. And we even have 40 more seconds for the Blitz questions.
Go for it.
Okay, so the answers to this should be very short. Online conferences or offline? ones still?
Both. You need to have both. There's nothing like hallway tracks and conversation at live conferences.
Okay, if you had to choose one, speed or safety, what would you choose?
Safety, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. What's the most exciting technology outside of IT? Oh, and we've hit the gong. This is the end of our episode.
Okay, meat smokers, very cool stuff.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, thanks, Derek. It was fun chatting to you.
Absolutely, I enjoyed
your
it.
experience. You're very knowledgeable in this field, and it was really a lot of joy. Short and sweet. Thank you for listening, and watch out for new episodes of DevOps Shorts.